Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to the Horror Master YouTube channel. Welcome back to day number 23. Número 23. Holy shit. Again, it feels like I'm going crazier and crazier and crazier down the rabbit hole when doing these ranking modes, but I've been having a lot of fun doing this ranking modes. So, like I said, guys, thank you so much for watching all the ranking modes, commenting on the ranking modes. Like I said, we're almost to the very end of this series, so stay tuned for the rest of this series. But for this episode, for episode 23, we're gonna be tackling a franchise that, quite honestly, to this day, I'm not the biggest fan of. It's one of those franchises that, when you talk about Wes Craven franchises, that's the one that really gets the most talked or love about. And of course, I'm referring to the Hills Have Eyes franchise, a franchise that has more misses than hits in my honest opinion. Then again, I do believe that most of the franchise is kind of a miss, even though the concept of the idea of the films is pretty something that could happen in real life, to be honest. But it all depends on the situations. But it's something that I'm not the biggest fan of. I know there's some people out there who are really fans of the Hills Have Eyes franchise, and for all my care, I could just be fucking burying you guys for that. But this is my opinions. Like assholes, we all have opinions. But if there's something that I'm missing about this franchise, let me know down in the comments, because this is one of the franchises that took me a bit of a while to do this ranking mode, because, like I said, I'm not the biggest fan. So my list could be completely different from anybody else's. So let me down in the comments what is your ranking mode. So without further ado, let's get into the ranking mode. So we have four films we're gonna be talking about. And at number four, at the bottom of the barrel, we have The Hills Have Eyes Part 2. This is a sequel to, of course, the original Hills Have Eyes film. And the thing about this film, when I was doing research, was that this film, after the success of the first one, it appears that the Hills Have Eyes Part 2 film was immediately put onto production to start recording the film. But then again, this was a film that you can kind of tell Wes Craven wasn't really fond of, because of course he just did it for just to make a paycheck. Which, if you all know, if I remember correctly, the Hills Have Eyes first film came out way before the first Nightmare on Elm Street, and this film was kind of produced, was kind of directed around the same time before Nightmare on Elm Street 1. So 2/3 of the film were shot, and all of a sudden, which God knows why, they shut down production to to complete this film, and they never fucking did. After the success of Nightmare on Elm Street 1, Wes Craven, I guess the executives kind of went back into the film, and instead of adding more to the film, they're like, nope, we'll just release it like that. 2/3 of the film done. Put some flashbacks to kind of finish the ending, which didn't make fucking sense. And you can kind of tell Wes Craven only did this film for a paycheck, which is the worst kind of thing to do when it comes to a film or an album or just an art piece, just to do something just for the sake of a paycheck and not for the passion, the love for it. So for those reasons, The Hills Have Eyes Part 2 lands it at my number 4. At number 3, we have Hills Have Eyes Part 2. This is the sequel to the remake of the new, I guess, new timeline, or the remake of the franchise. And kind of the same thing I said about Part 2, the original Part 2, but at least in this film, they kind of tried to do something different. Of course, none of the original cast came back from the first film for the remake. It was more about only about the cannibals and kind of the soldiers in the desert and all that. So, and mostly it has a bit more. The purpose of these cannibals was to pretty much procreate. If you're kind of sensitive to that kind of stuff, especially on films when it's against your will, it might trigger some people. So be warned when you watch Hills Have Eyes 2. But I get a bit better than Hills Have Eyes Part 2, Part 2, but the Hills Have Eyes 2, again, the same thing about Us in the Hill Have Eyes Part 2. Not the greatest. Some of the kills were meh. I mean, I wish that the cannibals were a bit more scary or disgusting. But that's just my opinion. But like I said, I mentioned before, I'm not the biggest fan of this franchise. You can kind of tell I'm kind of talking shit about the franchise, but I do once in a while might watch a film from these. But if you ever tell me, oh, which one's your favorite, like I'm not sure, I'm not so sure, to be honest, in this franchise. But The Hills Have Eyes 2 for me ranks at my number 3. At number 2, we have The Hills Have Eyes, the original film. Again, the concept of The Hills Have Eyes film was a unique idea because at the time, what would happen if you're going down the desert and you're just going with your family, and all of a sudden, all of these cannibals just begin a mockery out of it and start beating, killing, and beating the shit out of you and all of that. I mean, the concept was great. The concept was great, but I do believe that the film kind of lacks in a bit more suspense. Then again, this is one of Wes Craven's early films, so I do kind of to give him some slack because it wouldn't be the monstrous film he would later create, like A Nightmare on Elm Street, Serpent in the Rainbow, Scream, so on and so forth. So I have to give that. I need to give Wes Craven some slack just for that. But Hills Have Eyes, the original film, might be considered one of those underrated horror films that a lot of people need to watch more. I mean, for me, rewatching the majority of this franchise was the first time ever for me, except for maybe you know the remake and probably the first one and probably the second one. So some of these films were first timers for me, and I do believe that The Hills Have Eyes, the original film, has a bit of a cult classic in a way because when it comes to the Hills Have Eyes franchise, sometimes this film gets bring up a lot, which it gets to show you that it still has a bit of a fan base in this, you know, universe. That I wonder if they were gonna do another Hills Have I film or another, timeline, because now we, of course, with the success of course Hellraiser, and of course, and the success of other remakes, I wonder if they could go back into this universe and create a film that could even surpass the first remake or even the original, so on and so forth. So I'm really wondering, and I hopefully that this franchise eventually gets the love and respect that it deserves, especially from those hardcore fans. So, the original film, a cult classic, not the greatest, still an enjoyable film, and for the reason it's at my number two. And of course, at number one, we have The Hills Have Eyes 2006 remake. Now, I mentioned before, and I'll say it again. Sometimes remakes are not the greatest. Sometimes they make the franchise look like shit. For example, like I mentioned before, the Nightmare on Elm Street remake, that can go to hell. That can kiss my motherfucking ass. With this remake, it's not really the case. This remake is kind of in the middle because even though it fixes the wrongs that the original tried to do, they kind of took those concepts of the original film and put it in modern day, which it kind of works more in modern day standards because with technology and of course radiation, it's more common for cannibals. The way that they're shaped are more common in today's world. If you go deep into the desert, find somebody who's deformed or something like that. So I do believe that that concept was made for this time because you kind of see that more often in TV shows, in real life, to be honest. But again, they kind of wanted to do the wrongs that the remake did, and I do believe that this was a successful film. I'm not saying it's the greatest horror remake of all time. I'm not saying that, but I do believe that it's a remake that helped the franchise to get more of a fan base. I mean, to the point that I have it at my number one, kind of shows you that it kind of helped me get into the franchise. And I do believe, if I remember correctly, this was the first Hills Have Eyes film that actually got me into the franchise. So that gets to show you again that when you do a remake and it's a very successful film, you kind of stay true to the original concept, add a bit of your own flavor and concepts, combining those together, and you can create an amazing film. And I do believe that the remake was an amazing film. Like I said, taking the concept, making it to modern day, a bit more gory, which I mean, even though there's not really that much blood in the Hills Have Eyes franchise, it has some gory elements to it, some gory moments too. But to me, the Hills Have Eyes remake has always been the film when, if I ever, in a million years, or once in a blue moon, I want to go and watch a Hills Have Eyes film, I will always go watch that film. So for those reasons, it is respectively at my number one. And that's it for this video, guys. I hope you guys really enjoyed the video. Like I said, these ranking mods are going so fucking quick. Like I said, I can't believe we've been doing this for 23 episodes, which I'm thankful. And I mean, from the bottom of my black heart, I'm thank you guys for being watching all the way through all this series, which gets to show you how much of an undertaking I've been doing in this series. So Thank you guys for that, really, from the bottom of my black heart. Stay tuned for tomorrow's video where I'm gonna be ranking the entire Leprechaun franchise. Oh my fucking god! That if I ranted, like I swear to God, if I ranted when I did when I did Friday the 13th, oh, this one might even surpass it. So stay tuned for tomorrow's video for that motherfucking ranking. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, do the extra shebang. Don't forget to follow me on my Instagram. Don't forget to follow me on my Twitter. Like I said, hit that notification bell, hit the like button, subscribe. I hope we can get to 60 subscribers by the time this franchise ends. This series ends, and I really would like to get to close to 100 subscribers by the end of the year. So share the video, guys. Share it with your friends, especially if you're a horror fan, especially being that we're in the horror season. You know, get those videos more out there because I really want to create more content for you guys. And of course, I'm gonna bring back the metal stuff because I kind of been pushing metal to the side because I've been kind of focusing on my horror series. So for you guys who love metal as much as I do, I'll bring back the metal content, of course, with my CD collection updates, concert reviews. I still yet to review an album. I might do that eventually. Depends on the right album I have the time to listen to and just go at it. But it depends on that. But like I said, guys, hope you guys really enjoying the content I bring you guys recently. Stay safe, everyone, and until next time, stay metal.